Hello, Amelia Hirschfield here. I have my dog Naya in the corner. She's sleeping, so we'll see if she moves at all in this recording. Today I want to talk about what happens when you are aware of your pain, you see yourself sabotaging yourself, so you're self-aware, you can see what you're doing to put yourself in this situation. You think you know what's going on. You've worked on this before, so you're pretty solid in your awareness of what's going on, but you still have that issue in your life. And I specialize in teaching people how to clear these things so they can hit the next level, become the leader they want to be, focus on being really strong, ethical leaders that inspires teams, creates beautiful senses of trust with everyone, and then serves the world that way, and just has really really beautiful outputs. So what to do when you're doing this? It's usually a sign that you might be aware of the problem, but you don't have the tools to clear that yet. So you might have tried meditation, you might have tried affirmations, you might have worked on manifesting, you could have done lots of things about it. But at the same time, if you are still seeing yourself with that issue, then the issue isn't gone yet. And trying to work yourself out of that issue is like trying to teach yourself a new skill all on your own. Some people can do it, some people can't. And the new skill usually has fear around it. You usually have some kind of fear. You might have some self-doubts and whether you can hit that level of where you're trying to go. You might think that you're not worthy enough for the change you're wanting to see. So usually these blocks in us have a purpose and have a reason for being there. And the reason usually comes from a sense of safety. So it's keeping you in this area that you find safe. Even if it's not where you want to be, it's still comfortable to you, whether you're aware of these blocks or not. And stepping outside of this area can be very scary, even if it's in a direction you want to go, for these parts of you that are scared, they're nervous, they're afraid, these very tender inner child parts of you. And even if you are aware of what's going on, and you know your worth, you know that you can do this, you know you're capable, but you're still having this pain that you're in, it's usually a sign that there's inner child work that needs to be done to help clear that. And the inner child work that I do is very specific to your Myers Briggs type. And because there's 16 different Myers Briggs types, there are too many Myers Briggs types for me to talk about how to do this with each type, because each type requires a different approach based on the pain that they're in. So what I do is figure out what part of them is having a hard time, whether they're seeing this in a black and white way of operating in the world, or if they are very, very tender and scared about it, and they need to talk to themselves differently. And one way that I teach people to talk to themselves differently is to just say things to yourself in a very self-supportive way. You would talk like you would talk to a 10-year-old child of the same sex or different sex, or the 3-year-old child of the same sex or different sex. So what you would say to a 10-year-old child is going to be different than a 3-year-old child. So the 10-year-old can sound like, hey, I really appreciate you wanting and caring about our safety and you keeping us in this way, sweetheart. But at the same time, I know that this isn't exactly what you're looking for, and this isn't the life that you're wanting to build. How about we try something new? Let's take these steps And then that way you can live the life that you want to live, but you need to let me do this. And then you need to take those steps forward. So that's one thing that I do, is teach them how to talk to themselves differently, which is why you'll see the different Myers Briggs type videos on this channel. And then for the 3-year-old inner child, you talk to them differently than the 10-year-old. So the 3-year-old can sound like, hey, sweetheart, it makes sense why you would be scared. That would be scary for me too. How about I hold your hand and I'll get us through this together? And being that sweet to yourself and being that tender and caring is what that part needs. So if what I said sounds ridiculous, try saying that to it anyway. I've had someone tell me on one of the free calls I did that it was an INTJ. He was like, that sounds kind of weird. And I was like, okay. And he was saying that to himself later. And he came to me, he's like, yeah, that has helped me tremendously. It's like, it's interesting what trying things outside of our comfort zone, when they feel weird, when they sound weird, when they are stretching us beyond what we should be doing or what feels normal, especially in a tender and caring way, can lead to these beautiful epiphanies, because they allow us to heal and see and tend to and look after these parts of us that are trying to be looked after and need to be looked after, but usually we don't have the ability or the skills to do that. And that is how, in a big overbroad picture of how I get people to actually release their pain, learn how to figure out which part of them's having a hard time, which of the 4 different parts of them: thinking, feeling, sensing, intuition. And then learning how to soothe that part, and then taking steps forward. So it's usually going back, looking after this part of you, making sure that this part is is staying with you, not in the corner, in the ditch, terrified and afraid, and you're trying to move forward and that part of you is attached, and then you're wondering why it's not working. So getting that part to come with you, feel really held, feel seen, and make sure that their fears are looked after and their fears are acknowledged. And then that allows them to relax, and then they can go with you. So that's one part. The second part I do is to teach them how to act differently in the world. So saying things differently, learning how to approach people differently. And that's just really using direct and respectful communication. So if you have pain, it's probably because you haven't dealt with one of those 2. One are dealing with the soothing the inner child, or taking, how to take the steps into you know how to take the steps forward in a way that isn't going to be scary and isn't going to sabotage your relationships, because a lot of people will get to the point that they are ready to take the step forward, but they don't know how to say it in a way that isn't going to cause the relationship to completely blow up. And it can be too much of a risk to them, so they don't do it at all. And that can keep people stuck, or they continue to deal with it and deal with it and deal with it and deal with the pain and deal with the pain until they blow up, and then the relationship's done. It's like, you can keep your relationships and see if they're worthy of taking the next step together. So that is usually how I approach that. If you're wanting to actually get out of the pain, my work is very effective, and the clients that I take on is very effective. And I only take clients that I feel like they're in the space that they're able to really go for it with me, and they are ready to do so. And if you are over the pain that you're in, and you're over thinking about it, you're overseeing it in your life, you're over trying to figure out how to get over it and not seeing the results, I can get you to the point that you don't even see that issue anymore, and you can look at it as a thing of the past, and it's not even there. It's just completely gone. but you have to be able to put the right work into it. And if you are interested in that, my website is ameliaharshfield.com. Fill out the connect page. I'll give you, we usually sit down for like 30 minutes and see where you're at and dive deeper into this so we can see if we're right for each other. And love to tell you more about how to be more specific. Like I said, this topic is very broad in this video, but as I know your Myers Briggs type and where you're at, I can get much more specific, and I'd love to sit down with you because this work is so much fun for me to sit with clients and see them change quite quickly. So thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video.